Guys, welcome back to another episode of Atlas Survival Shelters. The video you're about to see has been edited over the last 8 weeks. But in the last 4 weeks, our bumbling idiot president has made some really bad decisions that has put the world in peril. So a lot of people, more than I've ever seen in my life right now, are actually calling me almost every 10 to 15 minutes, wanting a price and want more information on an underground survival shelter. So if you're watching this video, more than likely you're in the market or you're very curious about an underground bunker. I suggest you watch the whole hour of this video, especially if you're going to buy a bunker, because as you can see right here, our factory is completely slammed with work. Not only are we slammed with work, we are backed up 1 to 2 years on some orders because the bunkers are so big and we sold so many of them. So the following video is very honest and it's very true. It is a comparison between me and a company called Rising S Bunkers that is trying to advertise over my name and take business away from me because business is so good and my YouTube channel is so popular with 350,000 subscribers. So if someone's going to advertise over my name and say they're the biggest and the best and all these different ads they run over my name, I should have a right to defend myself and at least show why my bunker is better than theirs. That is just called free trade and competition. So if a judge watches this and he doesn't think that we're allowed to have free trade, well, he's wrong, okay? So guys, this video was designed to help you save your money, save your family's life, and not cause you a lot of problems because there's only 2 things that matter when you're buying a bunker. 1, is it going to work when you need it? And 2, will it last? So in case your generation doesn't need it, your kids or your grandkids, it will be there for them. And the answer is the Atlas Survival Shelter will. So sit back and enjoy this video. I'll see you at the end. Guys, welcome back to another episode of Atlas Survival Shelters and welcome to Sulpher Springs, Texas, the headquarters for Atlas Survival Shelters where we build all the Atlas Survival Shelters for North America. So guys, in the past I did a video comparing Atlas Survival Shelters against a company called Rising S Bunkers, showing our products side by side with them. Now I did that video about 2 years, 3 months ago. Although it's still relevant, it's very outdated because here at Atlas Survival Shelters, we actually have added a lot of products, we've made improvements, we increased the strength of our bunkers, and we want to show it off in today's video. So today's video is going to be another side-by-side comparison between Atlas Survival Shelters and Rising S Bunkers, but for 2021, because only shelter that Rising S makes is these square modular shelters. Atlas Survival Shelters makes the same shelter as well, but we just do it a lot bigger, as you can tell here. We make them a lot stronger on the roof with these big heavy I-beams. We prepare the steel better. The interiors are fantastic, but not only do we do the modular shelters, guys, we do the round culvert shelters, and we've done a bunch of those. We now do these monolithic domes underground, which are very cool. We also do the poured-in-place concrete, like the military installations. Guys, here at Atlas Survival Shelters, we just do it all, and you can go to our menu on our website and see it all for yourself. But today's video is strictly going to be about their modular against our modular because they don't make anything else. So the number 1 difference is the NBC air filtration system. The air system that Rising S puts in their bunker, it's a small plastic unit. I actually have some here because I've taken them out of their bunkers when I replaced them. But it's a small plastic unit with 5.5 to 6 pounds of carbon inside it and a little HEPA filter. Okay, that's got a little plastic hose. Matter of fact, I'll show an image of it right here. It's got a little plastic hose that goes up into this thing up in the ceiling. Matter of fact, I've got one of those things right here. And the reason I have these here is because people are actually paying me to take the air system out of Rising S Bunkers and put in the air system that we get from Switzerland. So the air system from Rising S Bunkers, as I was telling you, it is a black plastic, homemade by Rising S Bunkers air system that just turns on and off, and it has no way to manually crank it if you were to lose power. Now, all the ones I've been into were DC powered. My understanding is possibility that they could make them AC and DC, but the ones I've seen are DC. Okay, they're very simple, they're very inexpensive to make, they're very loud, as in this illustration right here.
And it has 2 fans.
Go ahead, turn it on. Okay, I want to show you how much this blows. See, that's just very loud, almost 70 decibels. So let's compare to what I'm putting in your bunker, and I have never put anything else in there. I am using the Air VA150 Swiss-made NBC air filtration system. And that's your NBC air filtration system, and it's running. See how quiet it is? That's all the sound it makes. And let me tell you, this air system is the best that money can buy. I do not make it. Why? Because the Swiss make the best air systems in the world, and I'm going to use only the best for you. Our NBC air system has 60 pounds of carbon. Theirs has less than 6 pounds. Ours has a pre-filter up on the wall to take out large sediment. Theirs does not have a pre-filter. Ours has a HEPA filter. Theirs has a small HEPA filter. Ours is 11 times stronger. It's made out of metal. It's a powder-coated metal. It has a lifespan of 25 years, and once you open it, once you cut this little wire right here, it's good for 12 months. And it will handle up to 4 nuclear blasts, because guess what? This company's been around for like 60, 70 years, and they've actually had them tested. So you will not find a military bunker in the world that doesn't have a Swiss NBC air filtration system in it, hardly. There is a couple of other countries that make an air system. There's one in Finland, there's 1 or 2 in Israel, and they make good air systems. They're almost all the same, okay? But the Swiss are renowned for making the best air systems in the world, and that's the only air system I'm gonna put into your shelter. Speaking of which, let me show you a video of my competitor, the owner of Rising S Bunkers, talking right now about how he feels about the Swiss-made air filtration system.
So if you're gonna pick up a bunker, you're gonna purchase one, or you want advice, it's free for advice. When people call me or they call Gary over at Rising S, we tell them it's free. The cheapest part is making the phone call. Heck yeah, I've been an outlaw. I've been in fist fights. I've drank beer. I've ran bars. I've done it all. But that's what makes me good at what I do. All of ours are built right there in our factory. We don't use any outside companies to build our product. Now keep that in mind. At Rising S Bunkers, we build it. Who does it? We do. We don't use outside companies, because that way we can control the quality. Some of my competitors that talk a lot of trash about me, they use outside companies to build their product. They do not build their product. So we do ours right there. We use them out of a chemical resistant plastic. So they're lightweight. They're airtight. It don't matter if it's made out of metal, which it does matter if it's made out of metal. You don't want it made out of metal, powder coated or not. Here's why. All air vents coming from above ground, bringing in hot air, and you're inside your shelter that is cool, it's going to create moisture. I mean, that's how rain works. And my competitors should know that before they try to bash me on the internet. That just shows how little they know. You know, I mean, that's what's going to happen is you're going to get moisture in there, and it's going to rust out your air filtration system. Here at Rising S, we install our bunkers ourselves. We do not outsource it. We don't hire a local contractor to come do it. We do it. That way we can make sure that the local bad guys don't know where your bunker's at, your pride, material, you know, there's things that you're going to put in there, and we don't want people knowing, you know, local guys knowing that.
Well, as you can tell, he doesn't think very much of them, but he sure thinks highly of his plastic homemade air system. Well, guys, it doesn't cost anything to make. They're loud, and I honestly do not believe they're going to do the job that you wanted when you thought about buying an NBC nuclear fallout shelter. Okay? So, one thing that I actually love about my air systems, and let me just show you here. If you lose power, you can operate them by hand. How do you?
73.
73?
Nice.
You like that?
Oh, yeah.
So what do you think about this compared to that other air system?
There's no comparison. You cannot compare us. That plastic, this is made in Switzerland, for crying out loud. This is great.
Yeah.
I might come down here and just do this for fun.
Okay.
Very light, easy to turn. Nice air.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Totally. Oh yeah, it almost makes itself go, for sure.
Yeah, so this is the easiest air system in the world to operate. That's why I use it in all my bunkers, because you don't know when a 6-year-old's going to have to do it.
Exactly.
Now, as you can see right there, that lady was having no problem with the air system. Guys, if you want a good air system that's quiet, that operates by hand, that's AC powered, as we wire our shelters. We don't wire our shelters in DC, we wire them all in AC. So you can put all the electronics in there, use blow dryers, radios, everything you buy will work in my shelter, where the Ryzen S bunker is typically DC power. But if they put in an inverter, it can be AC power, but the ones I've been in were mostly DC power. You can't beat it. So our air system is enough alone, that's why I spent so much time talking about it, is enough alone for you to make a decision between which shelter. But I have about 29, 30 more things to talk about. And at the end of this video, you're going to wonder, why is this Ryzen S bunkers still in business? Or how could anybody even buy one from them? Well, the answer is they do a very good job marketing. And if somebody doesn't know the difference and they don't watch a video like this, they may buy a Ryzen S bunker. And they have sold quite a few. But anybody who's done the comparison, I can't believe doesn't have enough brain cells to choose the right way a shelter is made. And that would be from Atlas or anybody who makes a similar bunker like Atlas, okay? Which I don't know of anybody else that does. The second thing I'm gonna talk about is Atlas shelters are just buried deeper than the Ryzen S bunkers. Every single Ryzen S bunker I have been to, and I've been to quite a few because I've done like 6 videos of failed Ryzen S bunkers that have flooded and rusted out and the customers don't like them, or Ryzen S would not come and do the repair or fix it up. So I've done quite a few videos, but every one of these 6 bunkers that I've been to or filmed was always buried 30 to 36 inches underground. Now the rule of thumb is, for gamma protection, you got to have at least 24 inches of solid concrete minimum, or 36 inches of compacted earth to shield you from 99% of the gamma radiation. That's right out of the book, okay? So I saw on Ryzen S's website or a comment that they believe that you only have to be 30 inches underground. Well, I don't know where they got that from, but the point is, I would never put a shelter as shallow as they do. We're gonna have our 10-year anniversary coming up in September. We'll be 10 years old, okay? My first 8 years, I never buried a shelter not less than 10 feet underground. That means between your roof and the surface, there was 10 feet of dirt, okay? Now that we're making these square modulars, we're doing a lot of them at 6 feet underground. Why? We just don't need to be much deeper, okay? 3 feet of earth is enough, but at 6 feet, climate in the shelter becomes stable. And you want us to stay between 54 and 56 degrees, and by hitting 6 feet of earth, you're gonna maintain that, okay? So there's really not, I've been told by engineers, it doesn't really do me a lot of good to be much deeper. Now, I do go deeper for when I do bunkers in the Middle East because they're worried about artillery, and in Israel, they're worried about missiles coming in. So if one hits the top, you want enough dirt between you and the surface that it blows up, it doesn't affect you in the bunker, okay? So the Atlas survival shelters are just always deeper. You can go on their website, look at any of their videos, and you'll notice they're not very deep, okay? Atlas survival shelters has 8-foot ceilings inside our square modular shelters, where every Ryzen S bunker I have seen, watched a video, or filmed has 7-foot ceilings. So when you're inside a Ryzen S bunker, I can do this. I can put up my hand and touch the ceiling. Matter of fact, let me just prove it to you. And notice 7-foot ceilings. That I'm 6'3" tall. Hold on. Let me see if I can catch myself. Between me and the roof, that's all there is right there. So you can see right there, that's me standing in a Ryzen S bunker. If you're a tall guy, it's very claustrophobic because the ceiling's just right there. We're in the Atlas survival shelter. The ceiling's 8 feet tall, like in my office right here. I can't even touch the ceiling in my bunker, so it's very roomy and spacious. So I don't know why they make them 7 foot tall, but we make them 8 foot tall. All right. Number 4, storage under the floors. Rise and S consider storage under the floor. Let me just show you a quote from their own website. They call it another way of saying hard to get to storage. So Rise and S Bunkers admits that they do not do any kind of underfloor storage, and they consider it a bad idea. But let me tell you something. Our bunkers are big. Look how big they are with the man standing next to them. You know why they're so big? Because they have 8 foot ceilings and 2 feet of storage under the floor. And guess what? When you're inside that bunker, it doesn't look like a Rise and S bunker. Let me show you the inside of a Rise and S bunker that I visited and videoed. Now, as you're looking at this right here, look at all the food and the boxes piled up. There's basically no way to live in this shelter. There's nowhere to almost lay down and sleep. And when you get into the other room, all the barrels are piled up, and all these 5-gallon cans are piled up to the ceiling. When you get an Atlas survival shelter, guys, you don't see that. It's like walking into a clean hotel when you first check in. There's nothing in there. Can you imagine flying in an airplane and having all the luggage be up with you in your seats? It wouldn't be any fun. That's why they put the luggage under the floor on a plane. It's just a practical way to do it. Matter of fact, you won't find an RV without underfloor storage, a boat without underfloor storage. Underfloor storage is great. It allows us to put water tanks under the floor. So we have built-in water tanks, so you don't need the water barrels. Our plumbing's under the floor, our electrical's under the floor, everything's under the floor, all your food. So when you're in that bunker, you just feel like you're in a nice, clean hotel room, because that's the way I intended it. Otherwise, there's a big mental game that can go on with you guys down there, and you just don't want to feel like you're living in a storage unit like the people do after they get a Rise and S bunkers. Now, in the defense, I wasn't doing modular shelters that many years ago. And Rise and S, that's all they did. And apparently, they did a good job promoting their shelters. This is how they were able to sell so many of these square shelters. They basically had no competition. As soon as I started making modular shelters, you know what happened? People stopped using Rise and S bunkers, and they started using Atlas survival shelters. Is why when you walk through our factory and you look around, guys, we are backed up almost 1 to 2 years on a lot of our bunker builds, because people love the way we're building it. And as people have commented so many times, they wouldn't take a free Rise and S bunker if they offered it to them. Their families' lives are too important. Another thing we do at Atlas Survival Shelter is we use these marine grade, gas tight, waterproof doors. And why do I do that? Well, first of all, they're heavy duty, they open out, they're gas tight, they're waterproof. And why does that matter to you? Well, the reason it matters to you guys, the way the Atlas Survival Shelter is made, when you come down the stairs and make a 90-degree turn to go to the bunker, you've got to go through 2 gas-tight doors before you get to the bunker. When you go down the stairs of a Rise and S bunker, as you're seeing right here, right now, you just go downstairs, the door opens in, and you're in the bunker. There's no mudroom, there's no way to protect you from gases, there's no way to protect you from smoke. Basically, any smoke, whatever, is just going to drift into that bunker and kill the inhabitants if they lose any kind of overpressure. Okay? Where the Atlas Survival Shelters has as many as 3 doors between you and the generator. So the way we design our Platinum Series, there's a generator 20 feet away from the front door of the bunker. There's a marine grade door there, there's another one here in the middle, and then there's one entering the bunker. So there's actually 1, 2, 3 gas-tight doors between you and the generator. Why? Well, 1, what if the muffler breaks on the diesel generator? Carbon monoxide would kill you, okay? 2, the heat generated by that generator would drift into the shelter. It would make it hot. 3, if you have to put out your trash and you're down in your bunker for a long time, you want to put it in the hallway, or even in the, you don't want it in the generator room, but you want it in the hallway. That creates methane gas. So you have 2 doors of protection to protect you from methane gas. Now the good thing is, methane gas is lighter than air, and it will actually rise and exit through the bulletproof hatch. So guys, the Atlas Survival Shelter has been completely engineered out, thought out, tested, proven. It's bought by people all over the world. I can't tell you who all my customers are, but if you're one of them watching, you know how I would protect you. I never get the name of the customer. I get their first name and where they're located. So let's say David in Dallas or David in Detroit or whatever. That's all I ever know of the customer. Sometimes I find a little bit more. My office never has an address, a phone number. The invoice is just like this. I'll even show one right here. It doesn't matter. All you see is a name and a place, and then their invoice. That's all the information we get on our customers. That way, no one here knows anything about the customer. They don't have the phone number. They don't have anything. Only I have it, okay? And you can trust me, all right? Unlike some other people out there, but you can trust me. This company, Atlas Survival Shelters, in 10 years, I'm very proud to say, I always was told by other people in the shelter business, you're going to get sued a lot. I'm proud to say Atlas Survival Shelters has never been sued one time by a customer. And in return, Atlas Survival Shelters has never had to sue a customer. I have good relations with my customers. They pay me, I deliver. If there's a problem, as they know, I have stood behind it. I have fixed them, whether it was my fault, or their fault, or nobody's fault. I have fixed almost all those bunkers. The rare exception, a couple times I've sold people bunkers that they did it themselves. They did something wrong. I offered all the help I could, but technically, if you buy it yourself and do it yourself and you make a mistake, the warranty is void on the installation, but not on the product, okay? That's the rare exception. The Rise and S bunkers, all they do is use a piece of 1/4-inch plate at the bottom of the stairs, and they call it that, I believe they call it a bulletproof door. Matter of fact, they're so against my 3 doors, this is what they say on their website. We don't need 3 doors. We say 1 bulletproof door is enough. Our shelters all have mud rooms and decontamination rooms. Even on the Safe Cellar, has a 4-foot mudroom, but the Platinum Series, which is our main bunkers, you come down the stairs, you make a left-hand turn, you go through a door, you're in the contamination room in the mudroom, you derobe, you cling off, you take your shower, you leave your stuff in there, you go into the bunker, and you can pressurize the decontamination room. Why? Because you see right here, we have a porthole. When you open the porthole, it pressurizes the decontamination room. Only Atlas Survival Shelters does this. I've never seen nobody else in the world do the things that we do. We're innovative, we're creative. I'm always trying to come up with new things for you guys, okay? And I got a jillion patents filed, okay? But that is the difference. Rise and S bunkers, you just, like I said, you just go down the stairs, you open a door, you're in a bunker. You know, guys, I'm sorry to say that, but this is just a tornado shelter that Rise and S makes, in my opinion, okay? Now, they can take a tornado shelter and put in this plastic homemade air system with their the Rise and S logo, go with the 3 crosses on the top, and put it in their shelter and say that it's a bomb shelter. But guys, it's like putting stripes on your car. It may look faster, it doesn't go any faster, and in my opinion, this is not gonna get the job done. Next thing, stairs. Atlas Survival Shelters has 36-inch wide stairs. If you like a wide stair, you're gonna like Atlas. If you like a narrow stair, you'll love Rise and S. Now, Rise and S, I must claim, has the ability to do everything I do. It's just they believe in what they're doing, and I know what I'm doing is right. They're gonna stick to their guns. It's a cheaper way to make it. I guess they're all about the bottom line, it seems like. But you know what? If I was a judge in a non-partial, just looking at the two, I would say this company does everything they can to cut corners to save money, and this company does everything they can to make the shelter as safe as possible and last as long as possible. The only thing that should matter to you guys is this a shelter gonna last, and is it gonna work? Actually, should it work and will it last? That should be the order they should come in. And I'm telling you, the way I make the shelters, the way I sandblast and prepare them, my shelters will last. I've gone to shelters that were 8 years old and they look still brand new and they smell brand new. I've gone to Rise and S bunkers that were 1 year old and they were mildewed and rotted out, okay? So any shelter that floods is gonna pretty much feel like that. Have I ever had water in one of my shelters? Yes, I've got water in a few of my culvert shelters. Is there anything wrong with the shelter? No, you just don't want to put a culvert shelter in a high water table without a sump pump because it can get water in it. But guess what? We've learned and we've had to fix some bunkers because that happened. But that's how you learn. That's how you become good. All right, so the next thing, and this is very important, the roofs, the structural design of the Atlas Survival Shelters is far beyond, not even close comparison with the Rise and S bunkers. Their shelter is made with a hollow tubing both in the ceiling and the wall joists. They're using a 3x3 square tubing in the walls, and it looks like a 3x6 in the ceiling, I believe. So I set up an illustration here of a Rise and S roof right next to a Atlas roof. So this is how Rise and S makes the roofs. They use a rectangle tubing. It's a 3x6 rectangle tubing with a 3-inch channel going across 2 feet on center. And then Atlas does an 8-inch I-beam on its roof with a 5-inch channel going across, okay? Now, they have a certification for a tornado shelter doing this kind of illustration. But the thing is, a tornado shelter is not a bomb shelter, but a bomb shelter will work for a tornado shelter. So in one of their comments, I've always accused them of taking a tornado shelter and putting it in that black plastic thing and claiming it's a bomb shelter. In one of the recent comments just recently that I went out and fixed one of the Rise and S shelters, they actually admit that that was a tornado shelter, but they sold it to the man and told him it was a bomb shelter. So right there, they're admitting they're selling tornado shelters with an air system and trying to claim that they're a bomb shelter. But the difference between Atlas and Rise and S is night and day. That would literally crush that if it fell on it. Now I've set up the difference between the Rise and S walls. This is how they make their walls. This goes up and down vertically, like this image right here on their walls. And then this is their horizontal member. So 3x3 square tubing with a 3-inch channel. And then this is how Atlas does our walls, okay? Now sometimes we go heavier, but we don't go lighter. That's a 5-inch channel, and that's a 4-inch channel going across. So there's about an inch difference, okay? So this is the difference between ours and theirs. But when you see the concrete dropped on these walls, watch what happens in this video. It literally crushes the tubing and it just bounces off the channel. Alrighty, okay, going back up. Okay, that is our competitors, or what we call Rising S bunkers. This is what we put in our walls. All right, let's see what it's doing here. Okay, it's flexing it a little bit. It doesn't even move it. There's zero flex in it. Matter of fact, the I-beam broke the concrete, 12,500 pounds. So guys, that's a real comparison. Now, as you can tell, the concrete just crushes the tubing. Where it bounces off, the I-beam actually breaks the concrete, and the channel just bounced it right off. The way I'm making my shelters, I'm overbuilding them, guys. I know that. I don't need that much strength on my walls. But guess what? That's how I make my bunkers, okay? If you want a strong bunker, you come to the right place. Where Rise and S bunkers, these things are short. They're made with lightweight tubing. They're using a small channel. They're just, guys are building them to the specifications of a tornado shelter and putting in this air system right here and telling you it's a nuclear bomb shelter. In my opinion, that's not right. I'm going to show you an illustration right here where I just visited an Atlas E missile silo that was built in 1960. And as you look overhead here, you can see on the ceiling all those super heavy duty I-beams. So let me show you an Atlas survival shelter in the ground. Now look at this. Look at all those I-beams. You know what the difference is? My I-beams are 2 feet on center. That's every 2 feet, where those ones in that Atlas E missile silo are every 4 feet. But I used the same engineering that was used 60 years ago for the actual construction, whether it's the I-beams, the doors opening out, the gooseneck air pipes, galvanizing materials. It worked then and it works today because every single shelter I've been to, and they're over 60 years old, they look great. And why? Because they make them like I make the shelters today. So, air pipes, the pipes coming out of the ground. Now, I'm going to show you, I'm going to go back to this Atlas E missile silo and show you the air pipes coming out of the Atlas E missile silo. They look like big candy canes coming out of the ground. But you know what? They're over 60 years old and they're still in good shape. You know why? Because underneath all that paint, they're galvanized. And guess what, guys? I do the exact same size pipe and the exact same galvanizing, so I expect my air pipes to look just like these in 60 years. But if you go to the Rise and S bunker, they love to use this 4-inch PVC pipe. But guys, ask yourself, would you rather have a marauder, fires, or the winds from a nuclear bomb come up against a steel pipe or a plastic PVC pipe that you could karate chop probably, break it off, and look straight down into the bunker. Because guys, when you take the 90-degree elbow off the Rise and S bunker, I'm looking straight down into the bunker. The Atlas Survival Shelter has a series of pipes. The air pipe comes in over here, it goes uphill, it comes down over here, it has check valves over here. Guys, we have an engineered air system. Like I said, it's night and day. There's no comparison between the two. So anyway, as you can tell, the Atlas Survival Shelters, they all have a metal air pipe system, where the Rise and S bunkers all have a PVC air pipe system. Guys, I don't know of another shelter company that even uses PVC air pipes, but like I said, it seems like Rise and S is trying to cut corners and save money at every turn they can. But anyway, another thing that Rise and S does that's very bad, you have air coming in and you have air coming out. The air that's coming out of a bunker has CO2 in it. You want it far away from you, but Rise and S, I don't think they understand the principles of protection. I'm going to show you a few bunkers right here. Look at these images right here. This is a Rise and S bunker. They have the air coming out and the air coming in together. That means it's sucking the CO2 right back in there. And guess what? The only thing the air filter will not filter out is carbon. So you can't filter out the carbon dioxide. So if it was working properly, CO2 is coming out, they're sucking it right back inside there, and it won't filter it, and those people in there would pass away. They would die. Stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. That was a Rise and S bunker, guys. I can't make this stuff up. But God, if you're a customer and you were getting ready to buy a bunker and you were looking at Rise and S, I hope you're thanking God above right now that you found this video, because I'm going to save your money, I'm going to save your family's lives, and you're going to learn how to get the shelter built the right way. Okay? So another thing that Atlas does, guys, we believe in galvanizing as many things as possible. You know why? When I go back and I look at all these missile silos I've been to, guess what they all have in common? They all have got galvanized roofs, galvanized air pipes, galvanized grates. Everything's galvanized, and guess what it looks like? It all looks new, even though it's all 60 years old. When I go to a Rise and S bunker, guess what I find? This, rusted bolts. You know why? They don't use galvanized. And they even put on their website, now they took it down, but they put on their website that they don't use galvanized because galvanized is poisonous. Guys, it's only poisonous when it's in a molten state. It puts off a smoke. But when it's just on a galvanized bolt or galvanized pin or galvanized anything, it's not poisonous. So, like I said, I never said they were smart, but I said they were trying to compete with me. The next item, and this is deadly right here. Atlas Survival Shelters only puts electric water on command water heaters in our bunkers. Okay, enough said. Rise and S bunkers, every single one I've been to has a natural gas or a propane water heater. Now, video doesn't lie, but I've seen comments where the owner has denied that he puts propane water heaters in his bunkers. Yet, he just posted a video where somebody bought a 4,000 square foot bunker from him, and look at this big, giant water heater in it. How can you deny it? You know the sad part about this, guys, is propane, if it leaks in a bunker, can explode. And unfortunately, in October of 2019 in Red River County, a Rising S bunker exploded and killed the 3 people inside it. Now you would think, oh my God, the hot water heater might have leaked and killed everybody inside. I better tell everybody that bought a shelter from me that I put a propane water heater in to unconnect it and maybe go to electric. But you know what? Even to this day, and this has almost been 2 years later, or a year and a half later, or how long it's been, almost 2 years, Rise and S is still putting propane hot water heaters in their bunkers to this day. And how do I know this? Because this YouTube video right here, which is recent, let me show it to you.
And then this is your propane powered Insta-Hot hot water heater. So when we flip this on, the water will run. See that fired up already? Here, I'm gonna do that again. It's off. So when you open the faucet, it sees the demand, fires up, and instantly makes your hot water.
Now, that was a YouTuber called Bear Independent. He actually put in a Rise and S bunker before he knew about all these facts. Okay, and then of course, Rise and S just put out that video where they have that big giant round propane water heater. Guys, it's just stupid. Matter of fact, in countries where the shelters are regulated, you can't do that. You can't put any explosive gas in a bunker.
That is just a wonderful one. They actually piped LP gas down into this damn thing. Idiots.
Now, you would think Rise and S would apologize to the owners and say, I'm sorry and whatever. Instead, they basically said, well, they're probably down there cooking drugs. Well, let me tell you, the people that died in this bunker, one was a decorated sergeant major, and the other was a couple at 45 and 46 years old, and they were wonderful people. But instead of taking the high road, Rise and S took the low road, and even they denied it was even their bunker till about 6 months ago. Then they finally admitted there was their bunker, but they said, well, they're probably down there cooking drugs, and that blew up. They don't want to admit that it's possible that the hot water heater leaked and blew up and killed everybody inside. So guys, that should put them out of business, but they're still in business. I don't know how, okay? But the next item, when you go down an Atlas survival shelter, at the bottom of the stairs, you're gonna make a left-hand turn, a full 90-degree turn, like right here. Let me take a walk down the stairs. Now you see at the bottom of the stairs, I make a hard left turn here. That is by the book. You're supposed to make a 90-degree turn. That attenuates gamma radiation. Rise and S disagrees with this. Even though this is by the book, let me show you a comment they made on their website. They talk about something about NASA says, well, you only need a 30-degree angle. Guys, when you look down a Rise and S bunker, it's almost looking up to the ceiling. The stairs are so steep, the doors open in. There's nothing to shield you from the gamma radiation. Just think of it as a laser bright light. If it was shining at you, you wouldn't stand in the middle of the highway. You'd go it around the corner because light won't turn. We're in a Rise and S bunker, boom, just light right into it. So guys, they don't understand the principles of protection, but all Atlas survival shelters in the Platinum series, or even the Culverts, they all have a 90-degree turn. The exception is we do a thing called the safe cellar, and I advertise it a lot, but I promote it as gun rooms, wine cellars, man caves, but it does have a 4-foot landing, which gives it some attenuation, okay? So in that 4-foot landing or mudroom, I had an engineer check it, and it rated out at 24.7 Roentgens. Now, Roentgens is a measurement, a measurement of radiation that your body can withstand in a day. Your body can withstand up to 25 Roentgens in a day. But I had an engineer from the University of Tennessee. He came by. He did a test on all my shelters, and he actually tested the Rise and S bunker as well. His conclusion was that my shelters that had a 90-degree turn were only absorbing up to 1 Roentgen per day, which is basically nothing. My safe cellar got 24.7, but the Rise and S bunkers that I showed him in the video came in at 479 Roentgens, almost 20 times the lethal dose of radiation that a human can absorb in the shelters I showed him in the videos, where the stairs go straight down into a door. Basically, you might as well be standing outside. And then on worse of that, they have these escape hatches that have no sand between you and the surface, just a piece of like 16 gauge or 20 gauge sheet metal or something, very thin sheet metal, maybe 1/8, but it was very thin, and the lid just opens up. So the gamma radiation goes through it like nothing, okay? So guys, like I said, before I ever made shelters, I studied with the best. There are people in America that have been doing shelters for 30, 35 years. I talked to them, I hired them, I paid them to educate me. I went to Israel, I studied. I went to Switzerland, I studied. I read books. I met people who wrote the books. I studied Oak Ridge Laboratories where the bombs were basically invented and created, but at the same time they created the bombs, they created the ways to protect you from the bombs so they could do their tests. So this is why what I know today. I just didn't run into market with a tornado shelter and tell people it was a bomb shelter. They're gonna get people killed if they don't do it right. And it's not too late for them to change, but they refuse to, as far as I know. Okay? So, another thing Atlas does, we weld our shelters inside and out, 2 sides, full seam on the inside and outside. Why? Because we have patented technology that allows us to weld behind the wall beams. I don't want to show it in this video, but there's a full seam on the outside and a full seam on the inside. It's amazing that you can weld to the inside of a bunker and you can still get a leak. You know what? There's these pinholes. And one thing about hydrostatic pressure, it never sleeps. It works 24 hours a day. And I have been to enough rise and nest shelters to video and soon to be repairing a lot more of them to see what hydrostatic pressure does. You know why? Because rise and nest bunkers, when they put their stairs onto the bunker, they just bolt them on and they put some caulk in the seam. And as you can tell in these videos right now, you're seeing how they bolted on and they didn't weld them. Well, first of all, they put the bolts on the inside so they could bolt it, okay? I put my bolts on the outside because we do have to bolt them on, but then we come in and as you can see here, we weld them all the way around. And it takes 4, 5, 6 hours to weld that thing. It's a lot of welding. But guys, to make it watertight, you have to weld it all the way around. Rise and Nest Bunkers does not do that on any of the bunkers I've been to. Maybe they'll make some changes and start doing in the future because I'm sure they're tired of their bunkers flooding. But what happens is Rise and Nest Bunkers, they set their shelter on the ground. They don't put them on a concrete foundation like I do. Then the shelter settles, the stairs hung up, and it creates a bend or a separation between the angles, and the water starts shooting in there. You think they would learn and fix it, but they haven't on any of the shelters I've seen, yet they haven't repaired them as well. They always blame it on the customer every single time. They say, well, they put in their own bunker. So if you want your bunker watertight, Atlas is the guy. Interiors. Guys, the interiors of an Atlas survival shelter feels like a cottage, a modular home, a cabin, a new house. I like my shelters not to feel like a bomb shelter, but as you take a walk, as I'm doing right here, right through a Rise and Nest bunker, doesn't it remind you of the county jail? Every one of their shelters I've been to had low ceilings, all metal walls, had ugly floors, and it felt like I've been put into a county jail. I don't know why they like to make them feel like the county jail. Maybe somebody's comfortable at being at the county jail, but I'm not. I want my shelter to feel like it's a part of my house. I want the tall ceilings. I want the wide walls. I want nice floors. I want nice cabinets. I want couches and TVs. I don't want to feel like I've been thrown into a jail in Russia. Okay, so if you want nice interiors, you'll like the Atlas survival shelters, and I take a lot of pride in them. Okay, so next item, the fittings that go into the walls. Guys, a standard fitting is about 125 PSI, and I've used them, okay? But a gentleman from the Department of Defense showed me that a 3,000 PSI is better. I immediately made the change, and this was about 9 years ago. I only made it for about 1 year with 125 PSI fittings. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that Atlas Survival Shelters uses 3,000 PSI fittings, and I've seen nobody else do that. My fittings, here, let me just show you some video of them. Look how thick they are. But these are the fittings on the bottom of my shelters. The reason being, if there, for any reason there was a ground slap, you don't want the fitting in the wall to break, especially if they use cast iron. So 3,000 PS fittings is military spec, and they won't break, and that's all I use is 3,000 PSI fittings in the Atlas survival shelters, okay? And I've seen nobody else do it but Atlas. Okay, the hatches on the surface. Now let me just show you a Rise and Nest hatch. Well, as you can tell, this girl's jumping up and down on it. It's just basically a tornado shelter hatch, okay? But this is what Rise and Nest bunkers puts on their bunkers. Every one I've been to is either this hatch, or it was a roofing hatch as this bunker here. Looked prettier, didn't make it any stronger, but you know what, guys? If you go to an Atlas survival shelter, all our hatches are made out of 3/8 AR 500 bulletproof steel. I don't think you want somebody shooting through your hatch and being able to get into it by sticking a pry bar in there and opening your hatch. I know my bunkers could be penetrated with the right equipment enough time. Guys, I never said it was Fort Knox, okay? But it's going to keep a marauder on foot that's just carrying a gun or a pistol from getting in the bunker. If they have a portable welding truck or they got an excavator, guys, you can tear up anything. You can tear up a building. You can tear up a bridge, okay? With an excavator, you can tear out concrete bridges, okay? So there's nothing that can stop the right equipment from getting in any bunker, including Cheyenne Mountain. But I'm saying the Atlas survival shelters, bar none, has the strongest hatch that you can put on a bunker. It's bulletproof. It's surrounded with 12 inches of concrete, where the Rise and Nest hatch is just a tornado shelter basic hatch. It's a joke, okay? Like I've said, they have the means to do it better. They have just chosen not to do it any better, okay? Doesn't mean they can't come out with a new hatch that's better and offer it to you as an extra, but when you get a shelter from Atlas Survival Shelters, it's an automatic. It's not an option, it's automatic, okay? So, portholes, okay? See this little thing right here? I talked about it earlier, but this is a porthole, okay? What does it do? It allows you to open up and look into the mudroom, and it allows you to pressurize the mudroom for people coming into your bunker during a nuclear fallout event. This is correct. This is right. This is good. It also gives you a way to look out there and not open your door and let all the air out. Portholes are great, but nobody puts them on their bunkers but Atlas Survival Shelters. Never seen Rise and S even come up with this idea. I don't even know if they would understand if I showed it to them. So I don't need to talk more about it, except Atlas Survival Shelters, every single one of them has a porthole so you can look into the mudroom, okay? Next item, very important, guys. We sandblast all our shelters. Atlas Survival Shelters sandblasts inside, outside, everything. And if we don't sandblast it, we send it off and get it hot dip galvanized like these air pipes. Why? We want the bunker to be there in 100 and 200 years, no different than these military bunkers built in 1960 and no different than bunkers that are still sitting there in places that look brand new today. I am making a bunker that I hope my generation doesn't need. Now, I've got my thoughts about that. The way this country is going right now and the people that are leading this country right now, they're out to destroy America. Is why my bunker sales are so high. People are preparing worldwide, okay? But I sandblast my shelters, then the air pipes are galvanized, so there's nothing outside that should rust. It should be there 100 years. It should be in good shape. But the Rise and S bunkers, they are using this cheap thin steel. They are not sandblasting nothing. And when you open the hatch up, this is what you get. Paint falling off, literally peeling off. Why? Because they don't sandblast. It's not going to adhere to the metal if you don't sandblast it. All I can say is call me. I can sell you the air system. I can do as I'm doing for other people. I'm fixing the escapes. I'm doing all I can to fix what, in my opinion, is already a bad bunker from the day it was put in. All I can say is I hope this video is helping a lot of you, okay? Atlas Survival Shelters makes bunkers in 8-foot, 10-foot, and 12-foot widths, which we call the big boy. And coming soon, a 14-foot wide. I know, guys, I just got to keep outdoing myself. The Rise and S bunkers come in 8-foot and 10-foot widths. Could they make them wider? Yes, they could, but they don't. They always make them 8-foot or 10-foot wide. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But they always still have the 7-foot ceilings, and every one I've been to just had a metal floor. I've never put a bunker in that just had a metal floor. It makes you feel like you've been locked into a county jail. I will not send a bunker out without flooring in it. The Atlas Survival Shelter, when you leave one of our bunkers and go to another bunker, the crossover is what we call it. Let's look at the Rise and S bunker first. This is where they welded in here, but they didn't weld the bolt holes. So it's leaking around the bolt holes. So you wouldn't put tar around this?
On top of it.
What's that? Is that salt coming out of the ground?
Some sort of mineral.
Some sort of mineral there.
Leaks, there's a few of the bolts that leak. This one leaks.
Yeah, there's one leaking there now. Wow.
They should have cut it back or take the bolts out and welded it, but you know.
Because the angles are on the inside, they stick up and it's a tripping hazard. You got a leaking problem there, which is standard on pretty much all their shelters.
Yeah, it is wet.
And so we got world expert Brian Camden here. Some steep stairs, isn't it?
Nothing's welded.
Nothing is welded. I told you. Now
Even the gasket's missing.
There's no gasket. They only bolt it with a 3/8 bolt, and they put a caulk in there, and they don't weld it. And it's also a way that hydrostatic pressure will leak through the floor. Now, this particular shelter we're looking at right now, they came back and they actually welded the angle iron on the top, but it doesn't matter because the hydrostatic pressure is going to come through the bolt hole and also come up through the angle, so they welded the angle. You've got to weld them all the way around. So right here, you can see my guy welding one of my bunkers together in a recent video. We weld them all the way around, and then guess what? Instead of just leaving it exposed, like the Rise and S bunker, angle sticking up and a weld there, look what we do. We take pride in our work. We transform the crossover to look like the rest of the walls in the house. You can't even tell it was welded, okay? Now, this is very important as well. Everything I'm talking about is important, but this is stupid right here. Atlas Survival Shelters, when we do a generator pod, we designed the exhaust from the generator to be exhausted to the outside. We wouldn't just let it fill up the room. Both Rise and S bunkers I've seen or been to had a generator just sitting in a room, one of them sitting in a closet on the wall, a gasoline generator. It's just putting off carbon monoxide. They have an exhaust, they have a pipe over here for the carbon monoxide to go out. But the door between the two shelters was just a piece of 1/4-inch plate and it had daylight around it. That carbon monoxide would leak into the bunker and kill the people inside. What's this over here?
This is a generator room.
This is a generator room?
The problem with this generator room is I can't really use it the way it's designed because there's no intake valve for oxygen. Right, so this is an exhaust fan, so you can actually turn it on, the exhaust fan.
Where's the makeup air?
Yeah, but there's not one.
The way we do it, the generator pod, the air from the shelter goes to the generator pod. We feed the generator from the air system, and then we exhaust it there.
So there's no way to get air in there. If I shut that door, it's not getting air from the generator.
Because it's gasoline?
No, it's propane.
Propane? This isn't a gas-tight door. This is just weather stripping here. This isn't a gas-tight door. That's what you call a dirty mechanical room. But you got to have gas-tight door, and you have to have gas valves feeding that for makeup air.
There's valves in there to hook gas into, but there's no way to get air into the room.
No, I meant the regular makeup air has to go through a gas valve because that's a dirty room in a shelter.
Right.
That's a death trap. I don't know who thinks about these things there at Rise and S bunkers. Matter of fact, on their website, there's a picture of a bunker they did that has 2 large diesel generators. Now look at this picture right here. Do you see the exhaust hooked up anywhere? No. The exhaust is blowing out into the room. They have some kind of turbo fan in there that's going to take the air out, but you can't walk into a room that has carbon monoxide like that. It's got to be exhausted. Matter of fact, I recently went to an AT&T bunker. Let me just show you the little video.
I think it's a 25 kW.
And that is exhausted to the surface?
Yes, that is exhausted to the surface, and that other candy cane was cut off on the surface to put this sky. Oh, it's got to be clean, but it's the sunlight.
I've seen people put in generators, and they have the exhaust going to the inside.
That's not good, man.
That will kill everybody.
Yeah.
You see, there is a diesel generator, even in a 15,000 square foot bunker, where the exhaust is piped to the surface. Guys, I would never in a million years put a diesel generator, any kind of propane, gasoline, or any kind of generator in a bunker and then have exhaust just filling up the room that can leak to the other rooms. That's how you're going to die in your sleep from carbon monoxide. Atlas Survival Shelters are kitchens. I don't do a metal kitchen because I don't want you to feel like you're in a jail cell, so I like to put in beautiful kitchens with granite counters, where the Rise and S kitchens, they're just these metal, always these metal counters with this paper-thin metal sinks and counters and cabinet doors. It's just cheap in my opinion. It looks crappy. Now, their excuse for this is, well, wood will get mold. Guys, paper boxes are made out of wood. By the time you take all your paper boxes down there, that's like having wood everywhere because you have boxes and paper. If wood's going to mold, the paper's going to mold. Okay? So you can't get away from mold if it gets damp in a bunker, even if it's made out of steel, unless there's nothing in it. And even then you can get mold. Okay? So that's always their excuse. Well, we don't want it to mold. Well, guys, the Atlas Survival Shelter, we use a composite floor. We're using hardy board for the walls, which is pure cement. We've basically taken any kind of materials out of our bunkers that can mold as well, but we like to put in the nice cabinets and the nice doors because it has a nice, cozy home feel. And you want to feel comfortable when you're in your bunker, not like you've been locked up in jail. The warranty between Atlas Survival Shelters and Rise and S bunkers. Rise and S bunkers has this ad. Lifetime warranty. Even if a dog chews it, we'll replace it. Well, guys, I want you to talk to the 6 people who I videoed their bunkers, and you'll get a different opinion. They'll tell you that they have called Rise and S bunkers numerous times. They just won't fix their bunker, or they want to be paid to come out and fix their bunker that Rise and S installed. Rise and S installed, in a rebuttal to the videos I made, is lying. They're basically saying that the customer installed the bunker. Guys, every one of these customers I went to was like in their 70s or something. They were very old, walk around with canes, okay? They didn't install them. They told me they didn't install them. They paid Rise and S, and the owner, Clyde Scott, physically came out and installed those things. They said basically he comes out, he digs a hole, he throws them in the ground, says, give me my money, and he leaves, okay? That's their words, not mine. So guys, I have stood behind my shelters. I try to make them right the best way I can so I don't have to spend money to come out and fix them. But even in the video I did recently, about a year ago, I had an escape tunnel that broke because somebody put a center block under a culvert pipe. Guess what I did? I went out there, I changed it out, I fixed it, zero cost to the customer, okay? Atlas, the reason we have a perfect 5-star rating on Google, the reason we have no lawsuits is because we take care of the customers. And all I can tell you is Rise and S has a plethora of unhappy customers, and I think once they watch these videos and they learn the truth about their bunkers, they won't be much happier, okay? Rise and S Bunkers, if you want to order a bunker from them, they'll get 50% up front. There's nothing wrong with that. I do the same thing. But right now, I'm about 1 year plus out on a lot of bunkers. So all you have to do to make a reservation with me is give me a $10,000 deposit. That's it. And I will put you on the waiting list. When your turn comes up, I will then contact you and say, well, Mr. Smith or whoever you are, or David, because I don't know people's last names, said it's time for me to start your bunker. Go ahead and send me a 50% deposit because we're going to start your bunker. So I'm not holding your money. Now, Rise and S Bunkers has a customer in Pennsylvania that contacted me that after 2 years, he still hasn't got a bunker from them. So he's trying to get his deposit back, okay? Because after watching some of my videos, he's decided that he would rather have a better made shelter than what he was going to get from Rise and S Bunkers, okay? Because he's been a little bit educated. Well, Rise and S Bunkers has a contract, and then 3 times in the last paragraph, it says, no refund, no refund, no refund. So under no circumstance will Rise and S refund your money, not unless you hire an attorney. And even this gentleman hired an attorney to try to get his money back, and they're still fighting him, okay? And I'll probably cover that in another video later, who knows, okay? Now this is the conclusion basically, okay? The cost of the bunker. Can you believe, after everything I've just showed you, that my shelters are less expensive than Rise and S? Now, not every shelter is less, but let's get to the largest model of shelter that Rise and S makes. They have this big giant bunker that's like $8.5 million, okay? Guys, I make the same floor plan if you want, with all my engineering and everything I've showed you in today's video, for less than $3 million. So why am I $5.5 million cheaper than Rise and S? One word, greed. Guys, I'm here to help you save your family's life. I'm here to do a good job for you. There's no reason that that shelter should cost $8.5 million. But I believe, unfortunately, the owner of Rise and S Bunkers and Gary Lynch, his manager, has sold maybe 1 or 2 of them to basically some uneducated customers. They're very smart to be able to spend that kind of money to buy a bunker, but they didn't know the facts about how the shelters were to be made, because Rise and S likes to say we're the biggest and we're the best and we're America's greatest shelter manufacturer. Guys, they're not the greatest shelter manufacturer. They're not the biggest. They're not the best, unless you want to count the biggest bullshitter and the best bullshitter, because that's all I feel they've done is bullshit and basically, I don't want to use words that will get me sued, but I mean, I don't feel they've been very honest. And I didn't know, seriously, I didn't know if they were just dumb, stupid, or out to rip people off. My conclusion now is, after seeing the owner talk and the little clips I played of him, I don't think he's very smart, okay? But also I know he's not very honest. And I'm not even going to go into this guy's felony rap sheet and all the criminal charges he's had in his life, okay? You can find that in another video. This video alone was strictly about comparing 2 shelter companies, one claiming to be the best and the other one proven to be the best, okay? So guys, I hope this video was very helpful to you. I hope you're educated now, and I hope you will like and subscribe to my channel and come back for more informative videos. But guys, as I always like to say to my viewers, and thank you very much for being a subscriber to my channel, thank you very much. I love you. I'll see you on the next video.